call the meeting of December 15th, 2016 for Planning Commission. Pledge allegiance. Commissioner Dustin.
And let's go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Dunstan,
Here.
Commissioner Heady,
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin. Here. Commissioner Padilla is absent. Vice Chair Mercado.
Here. Seeing we have no reordering of agenda, we'll go to the first one, is election of officers. Are there any nominations?
Yes, I would nominate you for chairman.
I second that.
And then do we have a vice chair, and then we'll do roll call?
You can, it's just consensus.
We can do
Consensus, okay. And then vice chair?
I nominate Brian.
I'll second.
Okay.
Let's say
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No oppositions.
Congratulations.
We're very low-key here, as you noticed. Well, not low-key when
fight.
Foster was here.
There will be a voice that
Yeah, that's what you
missed.
Appointments to committees. Vision Steering Committee. We need 2 for that. Do we have any volunteers?
How did we break it down last time?
I was on the green team, I think.
I was on the green team too, and I'd like to stay there.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll still do green team. That's fine for me as well.
And I
So,
think Foster was on the public visioning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was as well.
Yeah, Vision.
I'll stay with
Foster
visioning.
was.
And I'll join the visioning.
All right.
Okay.
there you go.
Look at that. Easy.
Joe got off easy.
Joe got off easy.
Should have pointed
Presentations, none.
Should have nominated him.
I know we should. Too bad. You snooze, you lose. Approval of minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting of November 17th.
I move for adoption of them, approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm abstaining.
No public comments? No consent calendar, no continued public hearings. We'll go to new public hearings. Resolution number 16-07, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton approving a conditional use permit 16-CUP-03 to allow the establishment of a thrift store, People Helping People, in an existing building located on 175 McMurray Road, Suites A and B, and making findings in support thereof. Andrea?
Good evening, Chair Mercado and the Commission. This is the public hearing for the People Helping People thrift store conditional use permit. So we held a preliminary review on November 17th, and this is the public hearing to follow that. So, again, the project is located at the southern end of McMurray Road, across the street from the Albertson Shopping Center. And the project description is a conditional use permit to establish People Helping People thrift store at 175 McMurray Road, Suites A and B. The property is zoned CR, general commercial, and it's to be located in an existing building and 2 existing tenant spaces for a total of 1,966 square feet. And there are 8 dedicated parking spaces, which, based on the square footage in the code, 7 would be required. So basically, the purpose of the People Helping People thrift store is to sell used merchandise that is sold, and the profits are utilized to support programs that benefit low-income families in the Santa Ynez Valley. So, and I just wanted to go through staff comments and some of the conditions that were included in the resolution based upon the discussions we had at the preliminary review. So. Again, no outdoor drop-offs are allowed, and that's included as a condition. And in the response to the incomplete letter, the applicant, did agree to that. So the next one would be that there's 2 conditions, one for lighting and one for security cameras, both at the front and the rear of the building, basically to deter after-hour drop-offs and to just for security purposes there. The next one is to the recommendation as a condition for a 6-foot vinyl clad chain link fence, as well as a no dumping sign to be put around the adjacent vacant lot just to discourage or deter any after hours or illegal dumping on the adjacent site near the proposed space. Also, remediation of illegal dumping that can be reasonably associated with the thrift store is the responsibility of people helping people. That's another condition that was added, or that was put in and discussed at the meeting, the November 17th meeting. Again, the delivery truck is required to be stored off-site, and the applicant has agreed to do so. So that's been included as a condition. Also, as we discussed at the last meeting, basically, that the Planning Commission came to a consensus that the review of operations would occur at a public hearing in 1 year, Planning Commission public hearing, and sooner if issues do arise, and that's also included as a condition of approval. So staff still does have concerns with the use at this site, even with the above noted conditions, just concerns with circulation, space, the amount of space for this proposed use, illegal dumping, as we had mentioned in previous conditions and had discussed at the November 17th meeting. Several residents and business owners and customers of those businesses have expressed similar concerns to us, and also the applicant has acknowledged that the site is not optimal in terms of size for their needs to run their business. And I just wanted to go quickly over a summary of what was discussed at the Planning Commission meeting last month. We did talk about the truck pickup and delivery schedule. That was discussed as a possibility to create, to limit the impact on circulation and parking. I did not include it as a condition of approval because it seemed like what they had agreed upon in the incomplete letter seemed to be sufficient, but we can always add something if needed. We discussed parking, the availability of it, and the code requirements, which per the code, the amount of parking required for this use is met. However, we do still have concerns with the availability and the circulation within the existing parking lot. With regards to illegal dumping at the last meeting, it seemed that the Commission did not want to impose conditions at this time that would be of a large cost to the applicant, and they believed that security cameras and lighting would be sufficient at this time for security purposes. And again, the review in 1 year, basically that the project would be reviewed at a public hearing in 1 year to see if anything needed to be changed or revoked. So, this application is processed as a Class 1 categorical exemption for existing facilities. And the recommendation is that the Planning Commission consider the adoption of Resolution 1607, resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton, California, approving a conditional use permit, 16 CUP 03, to allow the establishment of a thrift store, People Helping People, in an existing building located at 175 McMurray Road, Suites A and B, Assessor's Parcel 137-200-096, and making findings in support thereof. Or alternatively, if the Planning Commission believes that this is not the right location for this use, the Planning Commission can continue the item and direct staff to prepare findings for denial. And that concludes my presentation.
And Mr. Chair, I'd just like to jump in that, again, it's not the use, it's the location of the use. Staff feels it's too much of a constrained site for this particular use, and I know the Commission did not want to do the fence, but we put the condition in at this time, and the Commission can take it out if they don't feel that's necessary. But just want to let you know it's the location that we have issues with, not necessarily the use.
Okay, is there any questions for staff?
Yeah, just refresh my memory on how many, I don't know if they did daily trips, but weekly trips did they expect? Was it 200? Maybe it's a question for the applicant then.
When we can do that.
Yeah.
And I have a question too. What other uses are allowed for that space?
Any commercial, retail,
Okay.
restaurant, retail store,
Okay.
anything that would be allowed in the CR zone.
And is the parking requirement the same for both?
Yes.
Okay. For any business that went in would have the same 8
Anything
parking
that's
space requirement?
anything retail, restaurant.
Restaurants would have a little additional because of employees, but
Okay.
the regular retail would be the same.
And does the nail salon and the taco store, is there parking in that parking lot as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And then the RPL, the property management company, that's all utilizing that one parking lot?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, you did receive a letter from the nail salon and Burrito Loco regarding the project. And the one thing I did bring up for Commissioner McLaughlin, if you can bring up your ex parte communication at this point.
Yes.
I forgot that
so
earlier.
This is my first meeting and my first foray into this, but what's the term?
Ex parte.
Ex parte. I did post on Facebook today about thrift stores in general and asked for what other people's opinions were.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Brian, any other questions?
There was a concern also with the parking lot as regards to circulation. It wasn't necessarily the amount of spots, but it was also how it was shaped. Isn't that
Yeah,
correct? And
just
it was
the configuration
kind
of
of
it.
configuration. So it's kind of hard to move things around, especially when you have a truck.
Right.
And then we talked about, I think, Dan, you were hitting on this, but the times of delivery, I think.
Yeah.
We talked about in our last meeting that we were concerned about if it was middle of the day versus at the beginning and the very end, if we could limit it so that there wouldn't be as many cars in the parking lot, that circulation would be as impacted. But maybe that's a question again for the person.
Well, and I have a question too, just on how you determine circulation concerns, how a thrift store might be different than a new clothing store. Like if there's circulation concerns, I'm just curious how it would be maybe more in a thrift store business model versus another type of allowed use.
I can.
Yeah.
Deliveries is the main thing, is
Okay.
the truck deliveries coming. A retail store doesn't have that many deliveries compared to the thrift store with at least daily coming into there. And if you look at their existing operation, the truck's parked there and there's stuff outside. And that's the things we're concerned about here.
Okay.
And any use there would be circulation issues for any intense use such as this, because the parking lot and the circulation wasn't designed that well when it was originally put in, as I think everybody can agree on that.
So has the applicant submitted a circulation plan, some kind of visual? I just need to visualize where the concerns are with the deliveries.
Deliveries, if the truck's blocking access, because it's going to have to do maneuvering to back into that small loading area, blocking people from coming in and out of the parking lot or blocking
Okay.
parking spaces. So
Okay. So most of maybe it's for the applicant, but most deliveries are coming into the property via the truck, or they're leaving via the truck? I thought it was more people were dropping, individual, because I donate.
it's probably both, but the truck is the main. It's always at their store in Solving. So, and they indicated it was daily deliveries or drop-offs.
There's an attachment on the original packet, the original letter that they sent on the 12th of October.
Okay.
That should be in there, and that shows kind of a downward look of the layout, kind of an architectural
Yeah.
view, and there's like a little loading zone.
Well, I walked the
Okay.
site.
Oh,
So,
okay, so you saw that little
yeah,
loading zone.
I was just trying to visualize how just the visualization of the truck.
I get you.
Any other questions?
One other one around traffic, just, I don't know if this warrants a traffic study. I think we probably talked about that a little bit, about, bringing cars coming in and going around the cul-de-sac area, or that little roundabout next to the water treatment plant and coming back through, and additional cars that may be doing that based on this. Did we need to do anything around that, or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll have the applicant.
Open the public.
We'll open public hearing, and usually first speaker will be the applicant. So, Dean Palace.
You remember all those questions, right? Yes. I think the staff answers to most of those questions was not accurate. So I would be pleased to answer those questions. Dean Palias, I'm the Chief Executive Officer at San Ynez Valley People Helping People. People Helping People is a 25-year-old this next January. Nonprofit organization serving people in financial need and providing self-sufficiency services to give a hand up to people to be self-sufficient. The thrift store is an integral part, has been an integral part of People Helping People's programs and services for 20 years. I've been with People Helping People 22 years this next year. not only does the income, which ranges about $70,000 to $80,000 in net income a year, support the food program, rental assistance programs, youth programs, and many other programs in the San Ynez Valley, including Buellton, but it also serves as a source of inexpensive housewares, clothing, furniture for lower income population in the San Ynez Valley. And that lower income population and low income is about 20% of the population in the San Ynez Valley, so it's a significant population. However, probably the majority of our clientele, actually, I would say, are middle income or upper middle income people that are looking for bargains and treasures and antiques, and we have regulars on a daily basis. I get all kinds of feedback on a weekly basis from directors at People Helping People who are regular shoppers, but there's many other regular shoppers throughout the valley. So this isn't some place that we're establishing a soup kitchen. This isn't some place where we're servicing the homeless. There's been a lot of rumors circulating around the valley about this thrift store. Our thrift store has been at the same location with the same landlord for 18 years. For the last 10 years, People Helping People has won an award, Best in the San Ynez Valley, 10 years in a row. We know something about running a thrift store, and we've been very, very successful at it. I want to deal right away with this complaint. I got a copy of this complaint from the two current owners that would be our neighbors at C and D, 175 McMurray Road. I noticed that it wasn't signed by those two individuals, and I asked one of my board members who has a relationship with the people at Burrito Local whether or not they in fact wrote that. They did not write that. I can't speak for the nail salon, but I can unequivocally tell you that it was not submitted by Burrito Loco. It was submitted by another individual. Let's see, size. Let's deal with size. It is true that it's not an optimum size. Right now we have 3,000 square feet, but I would say it's a really good size. If I could find something for 3,000 square feet at the rate that's being charged us there, perhaps in Solvang, I would take it, but we looked for a year. So this is, while not the perfect solution, a very good solution. Our analysis is that we could easily fit what we have into the 2,000 square feet. There's a nice roll-up door and storage facility in the back. We've been in, as many people have lived in the same home for 20 or 30 years, you collect a lot of stuff. We've collected a lot of stuff over the years that we feel we don't need. We have 1,000 square foot of storage. We could easily fit into 500 square foot of storage. We've used the layout with wide aisles and a number of other things. We can do a lot better job, much more efficient job laying out the interior of our store. So we feel very confident that we can use that 2,000 square feet. Let's talk about customers. There seems to be some issue with traffic. I find it hard to believe that we would generate more customers per hour than I think you mentioned, Morgan, a retail clothing store. We went back and looked. We actually keep statistics. We run it just like a retail store, like any retailer would run it. And we average about 10 customers an hour. That's all. And we're open 10 to 5, so you can multiply that out. That's 70 customers a day. I fail to believe that that's going to have a major impact on that section of McMurray Road, which is not oft traveled down at that end. And it's not dissimilar. That location is really not dissimilar than where we are now. People who have been to our place, we're at the end of a parking lot. Most of that parking lot is filled with New Frontiers. We've never had a discussion with New Frontiers. We get along very, very, very well. But we have about 4 spaces available to us at New Frontier. So this is a bonanza for us to have 8. We only have 2 employees at a time, so that leaves 6 spaces for customers. It's extremely rare that we would ever have more than 6 customers that came in 6 separate cars. So we're happy with the parking. There was a question about circulation. I would agree with the city manager, planning director, that circulation could be a problem if we were driving our truck, large truck. So we have 2 trucks. We have a 32-foot, well, it's probably 28 feet now. Yeah, we had to replace the box at one time. So I think it's probably a 28-foot box truck. and we don't have any intention of driving that in and out. There's very few drivers, maybe my deceased father-in-law, who was a trucker, could back that thing into that space. And by the way, not only does the parking lot that you see visually, but there's spaces 4 or 5 behind the building that are also available. I've never seen anybody parked in those, but we would encourage our staff to park back there to leave spaces available in the parking lot. On numerous occasions, we submitted, I think, photographs the last time. We've looked at the parking lot. Many times there's no cars. Many times there's been 3 or 4 cars. There's been one occasion in the evening where it was full, and I'm just going to speculate that that was a campaign meeting for Mrs. Hartman, who had temporarily leased space up above, but that's no longer theirs. Now she has office space. Let's see, number of customers, type of customers. Let's see. We're talking about customers. We have a lot of customers that are tourists, believe it or not. I'm not a big fan of thrift stores, but I know a lot of people who are a big fan of thrift stores, and when they travel to Buellton or Solvang or Morro Bay or Pismo, they go thrift store shopping. They're, again, looking for treasures, and we went back through our statistics. About 20% of our customers have zip codes outside the valley. That's really neat. So it's also, believe it or not, thrift stores are, good thrift stores that are set up properly and look good, are a tourist attraction. There was a rumor that we don't pay sales tax. That's a rumor. That's not true. We average $1,200 to $1,400 a month in sales tax. The only thrift stores that are exempt from sales tax are Goodwill and Salvation Army. It's a specific exemption granted by the state legislature of California, I think in the commercial code, because they do job training. They're taking people who have drug, alcohol, other problems, and training them to work there, so they've been granted that exemption. Only applies to them. We've paid sales tax every single month since we started nearly 20 years ago. So there is that addition. It's not a tremendous amount of sales tax. Our gross runs $28,000 to $30,000 a month, so you can figure the 8% on that. Let's see. We have no objection. In fact, we included it because Mark gave us the courtesy of sharing a previous CUP for a thrift store that was just up the street from us. And I don't remember any tremendous dumping, vinyl fencing being required on the triangle below that. But it did include video surveillance. And I don't remember if it included lighting. We want to include lighting because the store backs up on the fencing and the right-of-way for Caltrans, and we're concerned about that, so we will be installing, and if the permit process requires, going through the permitting process of the city to install motion sensitive, is that what they're called? Motion detecting lights, whatever they're called. And of course, I know the city has lighting, down lighting requirements. We don't want to light up the night sky, so we'll handle all of that. And we probably will exceed the city's requirements. We're not just going to video surveil the front. We'll do the front, the side, and probably 2 video surveillance in the back. There's 2 back doors. There's a roll-up and another double door, so we want to have those under surveillance. We do vehemently object to fencing somebody else's property. That has nothing to do with the property that we're occupying, although it is the same landlord. The landlord has indicated to us that there has been some dumping there over the years. We went by the other day, we found push carts. What are they called? Yeah, Albertson's grocery carts were unloaded in that area, and I've noticed on a couple of occasions we've gone by several times there's been a rug and a few other things there. I mean, not major dumping, but that's what you see on vacant lots. So I'm not surprised that there's some dumping there. But to attribute that in advance to people helping people, I think is wrong. We're a nonprofit, we're serving the community, and you're asking us to undergo a major capital improvement again to property that's not ours, so we would object to that. We have a objection to continually parking our truck off-site. The landlord has said that we could, in fact, park on what would be the continuation of the street at the triangle or on the triangle if we wanted to. It's a burden to us and we have been looking for off-site parking. So far, not successfully, but if we were to find it, we think we'd find it in Solvang. That requires an employee to drive to go pick up the truck, bring the truck back. And in speaking about the truck, that truck is not in and out all day, every day. First of all, we're open 7 days a week. Because of the expense of operating a large truck like that, we batch pickups. We hardly do any deliveries. You have to really be a friend of people and have a major item that needs to be delivered, and we only deliver it to your driveway. We would never bring it inside. But we do very, very few deliveries. It would have to be a large and expensive item. That said, we do pickups. Usually it's twice a week. We're more than willing to agree to some stipulation about reducing the traffic, even with the truck, on that road. And we have a pickup truck, and that's the mode of transportation that we use most often. And that pickup truck easily can get in the back by the roll-up door and deliver donations. We're also looking at, to be good neighbors, we're also looking at reducing people coming in to make donations and doing it by appointment, which would help us now. I mean, that's an issue now. It's with 2 people, it's just very difficult to sort people's donations. So we're looking at doing donations by appointment. To your questions, if I haven't answered them already. Dan.
Okay, the last time your spokesperson said staff would be parking off-site, that wouldn't be an issue. I mean, that's what I recall hearing.
Spokesperson, yes. I had agreed that because it was brought up that you didn't want cars there, and so if that needed to be done, then we would, so that we could get approved, that we would try and do something in that situation.
So that's changed, or you'd rather have them park on site just to...
While I love Karen, also a fellow Buellton resident and my boss, a director at People Helping People, that isn't correct. I never agreed to that, and I wouldn't agree to that. That said, I would agree that if circulation does become a problem, we needed more parking spaces. There's 5 spaces right across the street from us that have never been used. How many times do you think we've been to the store? A dozen, maybe more, that are behind... I gotta think. What's the nutrition? There's a nutrition center and a dry cleaner, right? And then
haircut.
Yeah. So that 3-unit block, if you go behind there where the Albertsons trucks do in fact come in, those 5 spots that are there have never been used, and we've been trying to make contact with the manager to see if they would be willing to let us park 2 cars there. So if we ran out of parking, and we'll know that pretty soon, people will be complaining to us. We're about trying to provide customer service, otherwise no sales. So if people find it inconvenient to come to our store, we're going to lose revenue. Losing revenue means somehow we'd have to make that up in one of our programs. So that usually means, since we're staff heavy, it would be staff cuts. So we're about pleasing our customers. So if we need extra space, to me, that's a potential solution, even if we had to potentially rent those spaces, although they're not used at all. And normally when I call from a nonprofit like People Helping People, people are usually very generous and willing to help, although we haven't been able to get a hold of this manager yet. So that's a potential, what do you call it, mitigation? I'm not in the planning business, you can tell, right? So I'm in the nonprofit business. But that's a potential mitigation to that. If that becomes a problem, we could look for additional spaces, and I think that's a likely place.
And then, just to understand you correctly, you originally, your letter said you'd park the truck off-site, but it's a pickup truck, and this is the one you would be doing?
The pickup truck we would want to keep on-site.
Okay.
We have a 32-foot or 28-foot box truck.
And where is that going to be stored?
Well, we would like to park that at the Triangle. The reason that we said we might be willing to park the truck off-site is we were given the heads up that staff felt that was a problem to have our truck down there. Although there's many trucks going down there and making the turn through the Triangle during the day. which we witnessed.
The triangle is an unimproved and not part of this project, so staff wouldn't support that location as a storage place for the box truck.
It's not a storage space, it's a parking spot.
It's a vacant lot with dirt.
We're happy. We'd be happy with that.
And who owns it?
The landlord at A and B that we're renting, and he has said that he would be willing to let us park our truck there.
And we don't allow storage any other place on dirt such as that. That's not allowed by the code.
We're happy to, if that's a pinch point, we're very happy to continue to look for a place to park it at night off-site. Not my first choice. It's not very efficient, but we need a spot to run the store.
Any other questions for?
I had a number of questions. I have more questions.
I'm not leaving.
Okay. No services for people helping people are going to be conducted out of the space?
Correct.
Okay, so no board meetings or services?
No board meetings. We have a boardroom at 545 North Alisal in our service center.
Okay.
All the services for people helping people are either provided out of that service center, like our food program, emergency services, or out of family resource centers that are housed on school campuses at College School District in San Ynez, Solvang School, Hanada School has a family service center, the high school has a student service center. So no services have ever been provided out of our thrift store.
Since you are consolidating from 3,000 square feet to about 2,000, and in my opinion, I find this location to be more visible within the community, I'm curious if you have backup storage or what happens when you've got more inventory that can fit within your building. If you could kind of walk us through what happens.
It happens on occasion. We store it in our truck, because the truck has a lot of square footage.
Okay.
So
And
if we
that's
were to
the
get,
box truck,
and
not
it
the
does happen from time to time. You know when it happens? The Chumash, when they remodeled the Casino Hotel, donated to us. They're not waiting for us to make room for it. So we've stored it on the truck.
Okay.
And also, we have some seasonal items. We decorate the store for Christmas, for Halloween, for other holidays. We're going to rent storage for that, 3 weeks a year, 4 weeks a year stuff in Buellton. So that's going to reduce our storage. Plus, as I said, we have a lot of things in storage that we just don't need, that we will be selling. We've already started to reduce our inventory because we recognize that I'm old and I don't want to move all of it, even though we're going to get some extra help. So we're reducing our inventory very rapidly. We've reduced already at Solvang the ability of people just to drive up and donate. And that seems to be working okay. It's part of that is just educating our customers that, we're going to do business a little differently. And I will point out, there are many other thrift stores that are smaller than our thrift store. There are 2 thrift stores in downtown Solvang. There's the Humane Society right across the street on the corner from the Hospital Auxiliary thrift store, which is on the corner of Oak and Alisal, both of which are smaller, and if you go by, they just look like houses. So it's been done by other thrift store managers. I am confident that we have the ability after 18 or 20 years to do the same. We'll be good neighbors.
Since this is coming under a conditional use permit, that's subject for review after 1 year, what length of lease are you looking at with the landlord?
It's 3 years, subject to the conditional use permit.
Okay.
We've already negotiated that. We met with the landlord last week.
Okay. And the other thing might be for staff. So I think it's come up in previous discussions, the concern about parking and circulation. I frequently visit businesses on Industrial Way, and I think like Industrial Eats might have kind of a similar restricted parking area. And I attend meetings on Industrial Way, and oftentimes there's no parking anywhere, and I have to go on the street. So I'm curious what the parking regulations are citywide for Buellton. Just because I'm just thinking right now that Albertsons area, both anchors, I would consider more vacant. I think there's more vacant space than full. So if we were looking at a full occupancy of all the spaces, what does that look like in terms of parking impacts? Where is overflow for the whole project? And what is the relationship with the ability for overflow to legally go into the Albertsons CVS spot?
I'm not sure if I understand
Okay.
your question.
Okay.
I get it.
Oh, so you want me to start over?
Well, if
Okay.
you can maybe focus it, because,
Okay. So my
or let me try to paraphrase.
okay.
Can these people in this project go into the Albertsons parking lot to use the extra spaces?
That is one portion of the question.
No, well, that's up to Albertsons. Albertsons, that's not part of,
Okay.
Albertsons has their parking requirement,
Okay.
and they have theirs,
So like when
they're separate.
Aru and that whole front building corridor is at full occupancy, which is obviously not now, I'm curious where the overflow parking goes.
That's up to where the drivers. They can go onto the street, they can
Okay.
find wherever they want to go, but the parking standards of the city say a certain number per square foot,
Okay.
and that's what's built. If they
Okay.
have a larger event,
Okay.
there's extra cars, and they have
Okay.
to
So I
find a
guess my
place.
question for Industrial Way is just not specifically related to this project, as it is I've seen in other parts of the city or the town that overflow parking is on the street. And so it seems like in this particular application, that parking on the street is not allowed, or
No, parking
it's
is...
not, doesn't count?
Parking is allowed, it's just not credited towards any project. Street
Okay.
parking anywhere, like in neighborhoods,
Okay.
is permitted and
Okay.
on public streets. But it's not
Okay.
credited in part of the parking requirements of projects.
Okay. What happens with, so when I did a site visit yesterday, I saw tractor trailers that are, I don't know if they're going to Albertsons or if they use that for, because it's right off the highway, it's like tucked back that they can do overnight sleeping. I'm curious.
No,
what-
they can't. It's not allowed in city to do overnight sleeping.
So what happens on Avenue of Flags when tractor trailers come off the ramp and they park along Avenue of Flags and idle overnight?
The sheriff technically should be telling them to move on, because that's not a allowed use, just like a camper wouldn't be.
So if I see that, I can
Yes.
encourage, okay.
Yes.
'Cause I mean, that's the.
But actually, this is moving past the project, where
Well, no,
some
but
of
I
the
think
things we're
it's-
discussing.
It's relevant to requesting a box truck to be stored off-site, when I think we have some precedent in town that it's happening. I also see the catering company has their trailer, and I don't know the size of that trailer, but that seems to be larger than a pickup truck, and that's permanently stored out front. So I just want to make sure that we're,
Up the street from us.
Yeah,
Up the
but-
street from our proposed
but
project.
it's the same.
Yes,
But
I
it's
understand.
parked in a space, but the larger box trucks are much larger and are going to take up more spaces.
But does a box truck fit into a standard parking spot?
No.
No, that's why it's going to take...
No.
What is
If we were proposing to park it in that lot,
Okay.
we would park it across the last two spaces at the curb to the Triangle property, but in the parking lot, if we were proposing that.
Okay.
I do want to say, a proposed use of a restaurant in A and B would produce a lot more traffic and a lot more cars to be parked. I go to Aru all the time, and I can tell you, the last time I was at Aru, every table was full. You're talking 32, 40 people, even if 2 to a car, you're talking about at least 10 cars in that space. We would have, if we parked our 2 employees in there, we would have 6 spaces available. And there are spaces in front. I've been there when there have been clients of the previous tenant, and they've parked in front and gone up the steps and gone inside. So, like I said, we've been running a thrift store for 18 years in the same location with less parking. we know that we can make that work.
And let me try to clarify that the trucks coming into town, just coming into park, that's a different situation. This is a project with a truck. It needs to have a place to park. It cannot be parked on the street because it's associated with their business. So it needs to have a off-site approved location. And the site is going to take up more than 2 parking spaces, so that's going to take up parking. That's why we've been working with them for off-site location, and it has to be a paved parking lot that doesn't take up people's parking spaces.
And there's nothing that we can do in the conditional use permit to allow a gravel surfaced. Like, I thought that was an interesting compromise, but
against code.
so there's nothing that it has to be paved and that's it.
Right, because there's drainage issues and all of that when you start grading and putting the gravel and those types of issues. Staff would not, if the commission wants to move forward, that's fine, but staff would not recommend that.
We can, depending on what the circumstances are, the parking, the trunk, and it becomes a hassle to us, we might talk to Jim Richard, who owns the Triangle property, about proper grading and putting a asphalt slab there for the truck. I mean, we have to see that we have to come back and ask for a permit to grade that. And we've kind of looked into some other storage things, so we're kind of familiar with what the issues are there. I agree with you. As a resident of Buellton, I've seen many trucks parked along McMurray Road north prior to the construction. There were big rigs there all the time. The reason I know that, the sheriff had to come along and sign that so that we could park cars for our polo event each year. So, I mean, I do feel a little bit that we're treating differently, but we're happy to comply with the code if that's what it is, and we want to move forward and get this thrift store in there and serve our customers.
Right. My only concern is that in our last meeting, we did say that the box truck would be parked somewhere in Solving. I think it was at Nielsen's or something like that.
We tried to reach out to Buell Flat Rock.
Well, Buell Flat Rock, right?
We'll find a place for it. We will not.
And that was a big concern, and in our discussion, that's one reason why we went ahead and did the CUP as it was. So I think, whether you call it a sticking point or a deal breaker,
we can live with it.
It's going to be a deal breaker.
Yeah, we can live with it. We've already agreed.
Great. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll go to the next speaker, Justin Wilkins. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me come and answer your questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good. Karen?
Yeah. Karen Boker. I'm a board director. I want to say something more on a personal view. People helping people. Give me a minute. Helped me with my son. And I don't think that they're getting a fair rap here. I see other thrift stores, and I see dirt outside. I see clothes outside, the pink trash store. Yes, it's no longer there. The other thrift store that was next to Parkway Market, they used to have things sitting out there every day, every single day. Gypsy is on Avenue of the Flags. Everything outside. Rows of shirts, tables, you name it, it's out front. People helping people, as I say, help my son, because he had back surgery when he was 7 years old. The school district let me down, didn't get me a tutor. But people helping people were there, and made my son graduate from high school, which wouldn't have happened if PHP wasn't here. And I think they're getting a bum rap. And I hate to say that. But they're not being fairly treated. And I think you really need to look at what these people do and what this group does for people in our community. Buellton needs help. There's people in this town that go hungry. They can't afford health care. We need them, and we need this income. Please, do not say no.
Thank you. Carlos? John Sanchez?
John Sanchez, resident. I work for the city of Buellton, and for 35 years, and I've been driving up and down McMurray Road every day for a long time. Not so much lately, but that lot that's sitting there is just a dirt lot, but it serves a big purpose. Trucks turn around there, and I was kind of when Karen told me about this, she was talking about traffic and trucks. And I just watched one day to see what kind of traffic goes down there. And 90% of the people go into Albertsons and turn around. Nobody goes to the end of the street unless there's a purpose. The only people that go to the end of the street is the trucks and the people that work in the back Albertsons. If you go, and I drive around the back Albertsons because I drive the alleys, and I drive because I do work for the city, and I check things out. And there's trucks every day parked, stacked up, lined up in the back Albertsons, and it's never been a problem visually or anything. Nobody could care less. And to worry about a truck at the end of the street, I think is wrong. You're making it like it's a holdup or something. Can't see a truck. The bit of road that is used for this one business, any other business you can sell sofas, you can sell beds, you can haul out furniture, you can have whatever you want, and nobody cares if it's a business. But since it's a thrift store, people complain about it like there's a bunch of hobos there, and that's not the case. I go to thrift shops all the time. I go to the 3 thrift shops in Solvang and the thrift shops here. And thrift shops actually will draw more business to the other thrift shop. The other thrift shop will thrive because people, if you go to Solvang looking for thrift shops, you go to 3 thrift shops, and if you come to Buellton now, you can go to 2. So it'll probably draw people, that do shop at thrift shops. But anyway, what I wanted to mention was the traffic, I think, is out of line. You go with the back, they got trash cans, they got boxes, they've got old display cases, whatever you want in the back of Albertsons, and it's what it's supposed to do. It's a business. That's what they do. There's nobody driving around back telling them that they have to clean up a stack of used boxes or whatever they stack back there. And now at the end of McMurray, it's supposed to be beautification time. It's not right. They're going to be a business. They're going to work, and I've seen them work. They're going to clean up their mess. They're going to run their business, and I just support them. And I think you should too.
Okay. We'll close public hearing, and now you can ask questions of staff.
I had forgotten about the Gypsy store. So is that a thrift store?
It is not a thrift store. It's been a consignment store for various uses over time, and so it just came back in under existing permits.
And a consignment store is allowed to have
Go ahead.
Outside displays of merchandise?
Various businesses in town under the eaves are allowed to have displays under their particular, like Albertsons, under their eaves, that's allowed. So
Okay.
Retail businesses such as that. The reason we made the requirement here is not to single out people helping people. The site and the access ways in that area are not large, so we did not want the displays blocking access through that particular area. The other businesses, there's still access and accessibility access.
Okay. Are the other buildings in that whole Albertsons area, they're not allowed to have exterior displays?
I would have to look at the conditions on the other projects, but none of them asked for or have any outdoor displays.
Right. Dan?
Well, just a comment. I'm a little reluctant to have them take out the expense of a fence right away. I'm wondering if it's something we can put in that we review it in 6 months. I mean, if there is an issue that people are dumping, then we need to take a look at it. But just right off the bat to say, go spend $10,000 or whatever it's going to be.
And that's fine. That's up to it's a conditional use permit, and the commission has the ability to modify, eliminate, or do whatever they need with the conditions.
Come back and take a look in 6 months, and if it's become an issue, then we can have them back in. I mean, it just seems like an expense. They're going to have a pretty good expense moving wherever they move. So I hate to put one more on them. So.
Right.
Just a comment on myself as well, and thank you to you, the presenters, for coming up and giving us the feedback. I think you guys, it's not any comments about the business that you guys currently run. I think some of the predecessors out there, and not necessarily in Buellton, but just feedback that we've received from other, over the course of our lives, kind of gives some people the thought about what a thrift store might be. And some people out there might not have a good running business. It's not a single out to what helping people's doing. So don't take it that way at all. You just want to look out for what's the best for Buellton. So that's what we're doing. But outside of that, I like the way that this is structured as is. So, no further comments there.
No, I think people helping people their mission is very important. I like the visibility of the location. I think it's an opportunity for the city of Buellton to be more aware of local services and nonprofits. And I personally love vintage, cool thrift stores, so I love it. I think it just brings up some bigger issues. Like for me, being a relatively new resident of town, I found it really hard to find places for recycle, for reuse. Where do you take used clothing? And Buellton on the Avenue of Flags used to, when I first moved here, it wasn't done by Goodwill, but I think it was some kind of weird entity that allowed the clothing.
Yeah, we don't know where those came from or where they went.
And there was a lot of illegal dumping. You drive by and it's like, that's an eyesore. So I can see, where concerns might be around, a thrift store, but I think we have a unique opportunity to really have people helping people thrive in this new location. And quite honestly, what other retail businesses are looking at these places? These storefronts are empty. I don't see a lot of interest, and it's like, what other businesses are going to do well? And I would rather see a thriving local nonprofit than another vacant storefront.
I want to thank the applicant for coming in again.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just
You have to come up to the speaker stand, please. Thank you.
Just want to get permission first. Your sergeant of arms over here is frightening. So, Mr. Dunstan, am I to imagine that you want to approve the CUP with the fence in it because that's how it's proposed? I'm just trying to get the lay of the land here.
I think Commissioner Heaney's comments are valid as well. So based on that, we would evaluate maybe in 6 months.
Okay.
So with that.
Yeah, because the fence would be a deal breaker. It's going to cost us $6,000 or $7,000, potentially more, with all the video cameras to move in there. The $10,000, we just don't have it.
Yeah.
So that would be a deal breaker for us. So I just want to point that out. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty.
But that would have to be part of the CUP if we wanted to look at it in 6 months, or which we've done before in the other ones, is that if there was a violation, that's when it gets brought back up. Correct, Mark?
Yeah, that's correct. It can be brought back any time if there are violations. If the commission sees violations, they can call me and say, I've seen such and such, and can you put it back on the agenda?
So it doesn't have to be part of the
annual 6 month.
Right. The only thing with the annual CUP, having been on the Planning Commission for some projects that have had that review, it seems like it's constraint, but it's really not. It just is a good review because if everything works out, but it makes sure everybody knows about it, that everything, we have not had a problem and we made the right decision. So I think that it's the one-year renewal is good for both of us.
The one-year renewal is completely acceptable. 6 months would be difficult on the landlord. The landlord is refinancing his buildings, and if you say 6 months, that makes us really have a 6-month lease, not a one-year lease.
If I may put a solution, why don't we just strike the security fence at this time, because we can always bring that back through the process.
Okay.
So we can eliminate 25. Don't put a 6-month time frame. We have the 1-year time frame moving forward. But if we see issues between now and a year, we can always bring the conditional use permit back and discuss fence issues and things like that.
And I don't have a problem with the pickup truck. I just do have a problem with the box truck. And because, like I said, in our initial discussion, that's where we all had the same negative vibe on that. So,
if I could, on 24, the delivery truck, if you let's specify in the wording that it's the box truck that can't be parked on site, but the pickup truck is standard vehicle, so that's not a problem.
Right.
So we can adjust that condition. So we've modified 24 and delete 25 at this point.
right. And then the
Whoever
other,
makes the motion.
right. And then the other issue was deliveries. I know we talked about it early or the latter part of the day. Is that still
Donation delivery.
deliveries?
Truck to truck deliveries.
Bringing the truck deliveries, that way you would not be losing space. And so part of the CUP was that
Yeah.
the deliveries
That's us
that
going
you,
out, picking up people's furniture and bringing it.
exactly.
And it specifies early and late. That's fine with us.
Okay. Any other comments before we can obtain a motion?
I would be, I don't think I would have support, but I would, yeah, I'll set.
Listen how somebody else does the motion, and then you can...
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, so can we have a motion? Is there any motion?
Oh, just a long read. I move that.
You can say approve resolution 1607 as worded
With the exception of
with the deletion of item 25
and the modification. Okay.
of 24 that specifies the box truck.
Yeah, I move that we adopt Planning Commission Resolution number 16-07 with the modifications to specify a pickup truck in the parking lot and eliminate number 25.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Heady?
Aye.
Vice Chair Dunstan?
Aye.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
Aye.
Chair Mercado?
Aye. Passes. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you for your consideration. We'll see you at the store for the ribbon cutting.
When do you think you'll be in?
We'll do it indoors, though.
Yeah.
We're hoping for January 15th, but we may have to move that. We are, just so you know, if you see traffic down there, we're doing our annual Christmas Fulfillers Boutique. We have about 90 families we adopt. We serve them over 3 days. We're setting up inside tables and racks and everything. These are very low-income folks in our valley that wouldn't have Christmas without the help of the HP. So you'll see some movement down there. As soon as that's done, we'll start moving it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing other business, none. Print communications, none. Planning Commission comments?
Yeah.
Other than congratulations to Dan for being back on and welcome Morgan. And then we'll go to Planning Director comment.
Oh, you went through all the other ones? And we went through, we were so fast.
Good night.
We're at the next meeting.
He's
Yeah.
he's working on his foster.
That's right.
I still believe I have the fastest meeting, but
We have Live Oak Lanes and the Commons project are both moving forward with their environmental studies still. Actually, Live Oak Lanes is officially resubmitted, so we'll be going hopefully sometime in February, March to Planning Commission for the bowling alley. Commons is not officially resubmitted, but they've submitted their fees for their environmental studies, so we're working on those. We've got a couple of industrial projects that Mr. Gavin Moores is working on, who's doing the townhome projects, one on the old racquetball site racket club and swimming site next to Rancho de Maria. You don't have to worry about that one.
Abstain.
And then the old bowling alley site, he's working on an industrial project there. So he's working to get those in. So hopefully we're going to see those coming in shortly. We are transitioning our plan check and inspection services to a new engineering firm. So Tetra Tech is going to be doing that for the new projects and transition some of the old ones. M&S Engineers will still be the city consultant for city projects, city work, such as the Avenue Flag specific plan, with stormwater compliance, wastewater compliance, and those types of things. So we had our first coordination meeting today on with everybody involved, fire, building, and the two new engineering people. So it looks like a smooth transition on that, and the new projects will just have the new engineering firm. So
When does the senior housing start?
whenever they decide they're going to get the funding and submit their permits. So they have not been able to get their affordable funding for the project. They've been through several cycles with the state and have not got their funding.
Do they have to start building during a certain period of time, or?
They have 5 years, and then they can get 2 one-year extensions of time. So I think they're in the second year right now, so I think they have 3 years on their original permit approval.
In Panda Express?
It's open.
It's open.
Is it really?
Yep.
It has
I
soft
drove to
opening.
Lompoc the other day.
It's a soft opening this week.
I heard it was open, yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to tell my wife.
It was packed.
Yeah,
Had to
and,
find us more good attractions.
Habit's getting close to, they got their sign up on the building, and Chipotle is starting work on their interior improvements.
They're actually
So-
going through it, okay.
Well, they went through, they're in Lompoc.
Yeah, they're open right across from Panda Express.
Right next
So
to
there's,
Habit.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
the same 3 they got there, we're going to have in that particular area.
And HRL block, is that going to be a year-round one, or is just a temporary type?
Which one?
HR block.
That's going to be year-round, I believe.
Is there a, it might not be applicable here, but is there a listing of all the vacant commercial spaces within the city limits?
We had that originally. We have something that but we haven't updated
Chamber
it
of Commerce
originally.
always puts it out, but that is, I mean, Chamber of Commerce.
I was just curious to have a sense of, what percentage of our.
Not a lot anymore.
Yeah.
But that's something we can work on in the new year. We'll be happy to put something together.
I
on
thought
that.
the last report said occupancy of commercial space was, I think, 93%.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's a lot, all those empty spaces in Albertsons and down by.
I think of all the occupied spaces.
yeah.
Yeah, true.
But if you talk to retailers, this is a commercial place people are looking at. It's just having to find the right spots. There's a lot of people who might want to come in, but there's not a lot of built-to-suits.
Yeah.
So that's an issue.
And we have another interesting proposal at 518 Avenue Flags, possibility of a contractor who does specialty kitchens and laundry areas, having an office, showroom, and warehouse, along with retail and possibly residential on that. So
Now, where is 510?
518.
518.
That's the one that's second in the avenue, the old gas station where Gypsy is.
Which was just sold, I understand.
To the people I'm talking
And
about.
Gypsy is moving. They're
Yeah.
looking for another place.
So that's good, and they want to work with us as far as the Avenue of Flags specific plan and the look, and making it pedestrian friendly, and having some retail frontage, and still having their commercial business in the middle, and then maybe some residential in the back. So
What's the, since I feel like it's maybe a little open forum, I love this opportunity.
well, no, yeah.
This is the time we do
Just
it.
so you know, there's Brown Act. There's the projects you only
Okay.
can certain things, but talking about development projects, as long as we don't go into specifics,
Okay.
that's what this portion is for.
So I'm curious on the share, forget the term for the bicycle.
Sharrows.
Sharrows. What's the thinking of incorporating that townwide? It just seems odd that there's only like one road, like to nowhere.
You mean, those aren't sharrows on the avenue.
What are those?
Those are Class 2 bike lanes.
Okay.
That's a difference than a sharrow.
okay.
A sharrow is a shared, if you look on Rancho de Maria, the main road going
Okay.
in, that's a sharrow because
Okay.
it shares the road.
Okay.
Actually, the reason that we have those on the avenue is the bicycle master plan connects that road, that bike path, to Santa Rosa Road bike path
Okay.
and to the north. However, during the avenue specific plan, we're planning to eliminate that and put in sharrows. True sharrows where
Oh, okay.
bicycles share the lane with
Okay.
the vehicles. So we wouldn't
Okay.
have those separated lanes anymore.
Okay. Because it just seems like there's so much potential to make Buellton so much more pedestrian bike friendly, and I'm just curious. Yeah, I guess when I read more of the documents.
Yeah, and Irma's our project manager on that, so I would contact her to talk about it, and it's online, the whole document and what we're doing, and that's our goal as well.
Any movement on the gas station at the end of Avenue of Flags? The northern?
We've heard of movement, but we haven't received the plans yet.
Okay.
But they've been in contact with us.
Okay.
Irma?
Marcus, you mentioned the other project that's going to be coming before the Planning Commission in January. The one on...
Oh, yes, thank you, Irma. You want, you go ahead.
Well,
No, it's where Tres Rosas and the psychic reader are. It's a frontage of wine tasting spaces with common areas in the back for people to eat and sit with food trucks. So that'll be a conceptual review. And for Morgan's benefit, we have what's called before it's officially submitted, they can come in and show the commission and the community a project and kind of get your immediate looks good or oh, I got some issues with it, and that gives them pause whether to submit an official application.
Do we do that in this format, or is it our special meeting?
No, same format.
Oh,
And then we have, when a project is officially submitted, we have what's called a preliminary review with the commission. So we have an incomplete letter that has to go out with 30 days telling them what's needed on their project. And as part of that, we bring the project before the commission so our incomplete letter can tell the applicant not only what staff believes is some issues that need to be addressed, but what the commission sees. So that gives some people 2 meetings before they're even going for approval of a project, and kind of helps them figure out where the community is and where the commission is. And it's not just staff saying you have to do X, Y, and Z. It's also the commission has weighed in at the beginning of the process as well, and it gives them a little more idea of where they want to go with their project. So just a little primer on some of our procedures. There's a lot more to go over with you, but
Kind of like the
appreciate the
architectural
crash
review
course,
board.
yeah.
It gives us a chance to see everything. It works out really good.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, any other questions?
And congratulations, Morgan, for being appointed to the commission, and Dan for being reappointed, and for Art becoming chair, and Brian becoming vice chair.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. Meeting